from Volt's FYI.
Hey everyone, did you like the breakfast or was it good enough? I guess some people are still eating, but I'm happy that some of you made it. I'm gonna speak about distribution, which is basically a way to get your product in front of the users. But before I start, quick question. Please raise your hand if you ever used MetaMask. Okay, almost, I think everyone, okay. Phantom, who used Phantom ever? Okay, like 3/3. Zengo, whoever used Zengo wallet? Not a single person, I guess. And Valora? Okay, no one. And who here checked all 520 wallets recommended by Wallet Connect before they've chosen which wallet to use? Do we have any wallet nerds here? Probably not that hardcore, I guess. And have you checked every cola before you decided to drink Coca-Cola? Or was it more like, oh, it was on a shelf, maybe you saw an ad, maybe your mom bought you a Coca-Cola and you started drinking it? So, as I see, probably not, we don't have people who are that hardcore when it comes to research. But the thing is that we very often think that our users will be that hardcore, that if our product is superior, they will somehow find it. But you know, maybe there is the best wallet on earth, somewhere on this Wallet Connect 520 recommended wallets. I just never bothered to, dig in. And what I want to say is that best product doesn't always win. The fact that we had the most raised hands for MetaMask doesn't mean the MetaMask is best wallet. I hope we all agree on that. So what matters is your product even on a mental shelf when someone has a problem? And distribution is a way to build this mental shortcut between the problem and your product. So, okay, I'm thirsty, I will drink Coca-Cola. I want a wallet, and I have this list of maybe 3 to 5 wallets in my mind that I'm gonna use. Like, think how you decided to use a wallet. Maybe it was MetaMask that was recommended on every app back in 2020. Maybe your friend used the wallet and said, oh, you should try Robbie, it's really cool. Maybe you saw an article, maybe someone on Twitter said it. But even I would say Dappcon audience is pretty pro when it comes to crypto experience. Even we use these mental shortcuts. So now the question is, how do we even start building them for our users? So this is, as you can see in the top left corner, Uniswap demo. It's a slide from a demo at Dappcon 3 when Uniswap was shown by Karl Floersch to the audience. And it's one of the things that Hayden did to promote Uniswap. We often think about Uniswap as a technical breakthrough because it was technologically superior to other exchanges. It provided better prices, better liquidity, and so on. But we often forget that Hayden also did a lot of work to promote Uniswap. Uniswap, before launch, before even the product got launched, got presented at Dappcon 3. It got pitched to Vitalik, and Vitalik actually got very interested in that. It was presented at New York City Mesh, New York City Blockchain Week, AtCon, IFIS Hong Kong, Shanghai Blockchain Week, and pitched to countless people at Balance and MakerDAO offices. And Hayden also personally DM'd potential LPs. This is how much work he did pre-launch. Like, I don't know many founders today that do that much work. And it was 2018, which meant that, crypto was way quieter. It was way easier to get through the noise and get people's attention. So today, in 2026, the bar is way higher. Like, you need to do way more work that Hayden did to even get on the radar. And most people don't do it because they underestimate how much work should be done. So yeah, Uniswap not only had great tech, they also had great go-to-market. So does it mean that you should be like Hayden, just go to conferences and offices and pitch your product? Not really. Imagine that Hayden pitched his product here. This is European Blockchain Congress 2018 in Barcelona. As you can see, the audience doesn't look like typical Ethereum developers. People wear suits and they are like very elegant. They represent financial institutions, European Commission, and so on. If Hayden took the same strategy, let's pitch my product, and he went there, do you think he would succeed, or the efforts might not be that good? Well, probably he would not succeed. Not because the channel was wrong, not because conferences doesn't work, just because the market, the people he would be after, is wrong. So I sometimes get asked by crypto founders like, should we do KOLs, or should we do Twitter, should we do BD? I'm like, I don't know. Like, there are more things than just choosing a channel to get your distribution. And there are 4 elements. First of them is market. And what I want to say is that these boring fundamentals, like choosing the right market, can be more important than having a flashy campaign. If you have a flashy campaign targeted at wrong people, it just won't work. It's like very logical when you think about it. So to give you an example, this is a Coinbase website from 2013. Do you notice anything special about this website? Apart from the fact that it's old, because the design is 13 years old. I'm going to give you a clue. What is Coinbase for? You open this website, what is Coinbase a tool for? Yeah, kind of like a wallet, yeah? And what are they focused on?
Buying and selling.
Yeah, buying and selling Bitcoin. Actually, Bitcoin is mentioned 9 times on this small website. For the first 4 years, Coinbase was exclusively focused on Bitcoin. Not saying, oh, let's add every color coin to our website. They were only serving Bitcoin. And there were a few reasons for that. First of all, as we know, storing and buying Bitcoin was hard back then, especially since some exchanges had problems with storing securely your money. The second reason was because Bitcoin had a market cap of around $1 billion already. So even if they captured small percentage of that $1 billion, that could already be some substantial business for Coinbase. And is that they had a very unfair advantage. Most exchanges back then were not as professional and TradFi-oriented as we have today. But Brian Armstrong had co-founder in Fred Ehrsam, who was an ex-Goldman Sachs trader. So he brought a lot of credibility to institutions and banks. And when during bear market, most exchanges got unbanked, Coinbase managed to keep these relationships and keep operating and keep growing. So they have chosen the right market. But do you think if Coinbase in 2013 decided, okay, we will be the #1 place on earth to buy Namecoin or Litecoin or Dogecoin, do you think they would be a $50 billion public company today? Probably not, because the market would be wrong. So, market is 50% of product market fit, and it's the more important 50%, yet most founders don't think about it at all. Most founders think, okay, how can I make my product great? But the first question is, who should you even serve with your product? Or even if your product is ready, how should you market it? Where should you market it? To which kind of people? So this is a screenshot from a viral video of a guy who's eating a watermelon in under 10 seconds. It's pretty funny. Recommend watching. But like, this is how I see founders who say, okay, I have a market, let's take it over. But it's like trying to eat a whole watermelon at once. It's just like very hard. The proper way to eat a watermelon is to slice it and just eat it slice by slice. And these slices in this distribution speak are called segments. So you pick some part of the market and are focused on that. So Satoshi Nakamoto, people know him, but like he didn't buy a Super Bowl ad to promote white paper. He didn't even share white paper on Hacker News that had a very sophisticated developer-centric audience. He sent it to a few thousand people on Cypherpunk mailing list because these people were the most likely to get engaged in the crazy, back then, idea of digital money. And that's the level of focus that you should have when you are launching your product. It could be these people hanging out on these free group chats, or people building DeFi apps that went to Dappcon 2026. Otherwise, you, as a small startup, you wouldn't have enough money and power to capture attention of the whole market. So don't try to eat the whole market, slice it, and just try to do it side by side, because this is the way to do it. And you probably know these logos. So we get to the part when we talk about channels. So channels is this question like, should we do KOLs, conferences, Twitter, or whatever? So Ethereum, do you know how Ethereum have grown? Where did they get their first users? Bitcoin, yeah. Bitcoin Miami. Vitalik was actually an editor of Bitcoin magazine. Even the ETH race was denominated in Bitcoin. You could say it was a vampire attack if you want to be. And probably some Bitcoiners think that way, that's why they don't like us. But like, they were exclusively focused on capturing existing community. Tether, they have grown thanks to partnership with centralized exchanges, because these centralized exchanges got debanked and they needed dollar settlement. So Tether said, hey, we can give you dollar settlement with our stablecoin. Polymarket, well, Polymarket is all about the current thing, so they've grown through Twitter. Snapshot, they have grown through DAOs. So like back in 2021, everyone was part of like 7 DAOs. So you went to one DAO, they started using Snapshot, and you were like, oh, that's cool. So let's adopt it in another DAO where I'm in. ZORA, they were back in when they were focused on art, they were literally DMing people on Instagram and saying, hey, you do cool art, you can make money online. Just sign up. Lido, they did DeFi integration. Like the biggest factor was when they started, they already had great liquidity pool between STETH and ETH on Curve. So it was very, you could feel that even if you get this weird new type of ETH, you can easily get back normal ETH. Echo, known as an app that was built by Kobe, it was mainly promoted through KOLs because they created these investment groups, they invited their friends, and that's how it has grown. Rainbow took a totally different approach. They created Rainbow Kit, which is basically developer tooling, and that's how they've grown. POAP, well, if you know Patricio and his famous red jacket, you know that it has grown through live onboarding people. So what I want to say is there is no playbook that always works. For one product, it's going to be Twitter. For one product, it's going to be developer tooling. So you need to experiment. And the way to do it is to brainstorm 3 channels that might work and has the highest chances of working, and then becoming a nerd of this channel. So if you choose Twitter for 1 month, you spend like 40 hours a week for 4 weeks just thinking about Twitter, learning about Twitter, tweeting threads, maybe short tweets, maybe memes, maybe videos, maybe DMing people, maybe being a reply guy. This is the way of dedication you need to have to actually test a channel. And once you do it, you see whether it worked. You see whether how much money did it cost, how much energy did it cost, did it bring some quality users? Can you scale this channel? Can you get another 1,000 users from that? Because if you focus, for example, on, okay, let's say get people from Dappcon, there's like a few hundred of us. So if I need to onboard 10,000 users, it's just not enough. So I would need 10 Dappcons or 10 conferences to get enough users. So this is a scene from Big Short, a famous scene, That's My Quant. And what Jared, who is pitching hedge fund here, does well is he does a thing that every founder should do whenever they're building distribution. Because, okay, you got the market, you sliced it so you get a segment, you got a channel, but then the question is, what do you say to these users? And what Jared did there, he's like, okay, what these hedge fund guys need? Well, they need ways to make money. So here's the way to make money. Short the housing market. Okay, then they ask, okay, does the math add up? And then there's this, that's my quant scene. Yes, the math adds up. Then they're like, okay, but how could we short it? And he says, oh, there's credit default swaps. So these are the questions that every user silently asks whenever they see your product. First is like, does it solve my problem? The second question is, can I trust that it's actually going to solve my problem? And the third one, does it meet the requirements I have for these kind of products? For example, sometimes someone has legal requirements, or maybe it needs to be an iOS app, not Android, and so on and so forth. So you need to answer these questions, whether it's your landing page, whether it's your blog post, whether it's your podcast, essay, whatever. It needs to be obvious that these questions are answered. So the good news is you only need one thing to work. Like Luke Skywalker in Star Wars, you need only one shot at the Death Star to win the, the fight for the galaxy. Same here. You can make 100 experiments that won't work, but if one works, it can bring you thousands, sometimes even millions of users and be a make or break for your startup. So yeah, that's the good news. And I'm about to end with two things. First, I only scratched the surface of it. There's a longer piece that I wrote, and Arman asked me to present this today based on this blog post. So I'm going to show you a QR code where you can find this blog post and get more deeper into this subject if you find it interesting. It's free, like you can just scan it. The second thing is, since I am into testing channels, I decided that I'm going to test if conference channel works for us. So I'm going to show you a QR code that if you build a DeFi app, when there's any earn experience or borrow experience, so you interact with Aave, Morpho, Lido, Rocket Pool, whatever, you can use our API and get $50 of free credit. So if that's your thing, you can scan it. So yeah, the blog post is on the left. If you want, you can scan it and bookmark it for later. The API credit is on the right. The code for API credits is going to work until Friday, so you have 3 days. You can just make a picture and do the onboarding later. With blog post, it's the same. So yeah, thank you. And we have time for half a question.